There is one school of thought which encourages you to embrace struggle voluntarily because we live in a world where everything is on tap. So we were evolved to do a lot of effort to
Right.
get a little bit of reward. So is that what you agree with that? Where if especially when you're doing well, instead of going for a pizza or overnight, but in general, are you from that camp that you really need to strive and seek discomfort in order to reap certain rewards?
It's a great question. I don't necessarily always think that because you also have to weigh the odds of like injury versus,
Hmm.
consistency. So to me, that's like slightly separate. What I mean is, continuing to work and, continuing almost to have your victory lap when things are going well to make sure that you're out there in the world and your positive energy is emanating rather than like, shelling back in. But I see
Right.
what you're saying, and I do think it applies to certain situations. Like this idea that when you're playing chess, for example, you sometimes want to simulate discomfort because you can not always be in a situation where you feel 100%. So in your
Hmm.
training sessions, you also sometimes want to simulate that. I'm very serious about my speaking opportunities. I always like to do a great job. But what I find is that sometimes when you're on the road speaking, giving talks, you don't know how you're going to feel when you go into that talk. Sometimes you didn't sleep well because you're in a foreign country. You took a plane, it was tiring, you didn't get any sleep, you're jet lagged. You sometimes don't feel great. And I think that it's like, even if you don't feel great, you want to be able to give like an A- performance. So you wanna be able to at least do very well when you're not feeling
Hmm.
well. You can't always be A+. It's just not it's not possible, right? It's not possible to
Hmm.
always give A+, plus. And a lot of the success is making sure that you don't fall too far down because of external factors. Like, I'll give you an example that's also in the book. When the world champion Mikhail Botvinnik once had a very bad tournament, he did quite badly in one of the USSR championships, even though he started out well. And part of the reason was that the hall was smoke filled. There was a rock concert next door. It was extremely hot, not well ventilated. But guess what? Everybody was playing under the same conditions.
Hmm.
So, he still could have done well. And so, what he did in his next training session was he had his trainer blow smoke on him and blasted the music. And yeah, this this is important. You're not going to get those
Yeah.
perfect conditions to whatever you want, your interviews that are important to you, your speeches. So simulate some of that discomfort so that you can give your A- game even under pressure.